That's solid gold right there. We're all done. Thank you very much for joining me today.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. That was great. Samantha, thank you so much for joining me here this morning. This is amazing. I know that you're super busy and you've got a lot on your plate, so I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk with me. We're going to talk through a couple of subjects today together, but we're going to start with student voice. And before we jump into that, if you wouldn't mind, just tell all of us a little bit about yourself, your role, where we're at here, a little bit about your school district. That would be great.
I love it. Well, welcome to Missouri from California. Hey, Peachjar family. So yeah, my name is Samantha Fitzgerald. I'm the communications and marketing specialist for the district. I've been here for 7.5 years. So Park Hill is a suburb of Kansas City, Missouri. So we're on the Missouri side. It's a big deal, not the Kansas side.
This is a big deal.
We're a suburban district. We have 20 schools currently. We're building our 12th elementary, so we'll have 21 in a couple of years. We've got about 12,000 students and about 2,000 staff.
Pretty good sized district.
Yeah, we're also very fortunate. Our communications department, there are 6 of us. So
wow.
For anyone who's watching and does the math between 12,000 students and the ratio, I know, we're spoiled.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. My last school district, there was 19,000 students, 22 schools, and I was an office of one and talked to the district into giving me another communications professional from actually an IT department role, which was awesome. And that individual just really loved managing social media. So I had 2, but in both my previous districts, it was really just a department of one and all about the same size, 22 schools, 20 to 22,000 students. That's really hard as a department of one. I'm very envious right now to hear 6.
Yeah, but we have high expectations and we churn out a lot of content.
You perform, which is why I'm here to talk to you. So let's jump into it a little bit. I'd love to talk about student voice. I know that's critical. I know that's one of the goals that you have here at Park Hill. Can we just talk about some of the ways that you incorporate student voice and how you're incorporating it into just your communication strategy overall?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so part of the district's strategic plan is that we involve, our students and their student voice and their kind of authentic learning styles and what that looks like. Cool. And so adding that into our communications department communications plan, we've got about 6 goals, but one of those main goals is how do we include student voice to be kind of one of the main facets of what we're communicating in and out about. So lots of ways that we do that. Okay. Want me to jump into some of them?
Yeah. Tell me some of the ways you do. Well, actually, I do have one question before we jump in. Why do you feel here in Park Hill that is an important piece of your communications plan? Why is student voice important here?
I think if you're in a school district, I think students are your biggest brand ambassadors, right?
This is true.
You've got your community members, you've got your business owners and your parents, and they might ebb and flow based on their opinions and how they feel about the district. But I think students are really raw and authentic in what they're going to say, whether you're talking to a first grader or a senior in high school. And so I think they are your biggest brand ambassadors. And I think if you really want change, you need to listen to the people who are sitting in those chairs day in and day out.
That's awesome.
So
it's critical. I would agree. I would echo that, like the student voice. And anytime you put, a video or social media out there, it incorporates the student in some way, speaking or talking about something they're involved in or engaged in, or their tech pathway or their medical pathway or their recent art award. I mean, it's just the engagement's through the roof. So that student voice and that component is critical. What are some of the ways then that you found that you can incorporate this effectively? Yeah.
So let's start with social media.
Okay.
I feel like that is kind of an easy olive branch. So you can do that on the daily, whether a student's getting an award or our videographer is just out in the buildings getting photos of what's going on day to day. Something new that we've added this year is we will go into a class and take a photo, and then we will ask the student or students quickly, like, what are you learning about? Okay. What are you engaging in? And then we will take an actual quote from them and put that into the caption. So instead of just posting it on our Facebook and X and Instagram to say, Matthew and Samantha did a biology experiment today and it was really cool. It starts out with Matthew saying, we learned about gravity and how all of that is incorporated into, our daily life. something.
That's really, really cool. So if you didn't really just catch what Samantha was just saying, that's amazing. I'm guilty of this. I was doing this a lot. And I see a lot of other districts doing this where you get a great picture of like students, maybe they're doing marshmallow catapults, right? And you're going to say like, students in classroom 23 today, built marshmallow catapults, and it's cute. Maybe you have a little video that goes with it. But how much more impactful is that then to get a quote from the student, and that's the text that you're putting in with it? That's solid gold right there. We're all done. Thank you very much for joining me today.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it. That was great.
You're welcome, Matthew.
I love that. Oh, that's
but
good.
You think about if someone's on social media and they're clicking through pretty fast, if you're in this business, you know that you need something to capture people pretty quick. And so a photo might do it, but also if they're going to read the caption, let's put something in there that's worthwhile.
That's beautiful.
So
I love that.
Short and sweet, simple, and let the student say the message.
So cool.
So a couple other things we do on social media.
Okay.
Our videographer and I do something called a Spotlight video series. So each school gets one of them a year.
Well, yeah, you were showing me the calendar. You would kind of mark down. Okay.
Yeah. So we track that for them.
Great.
And so what I do is I kind of casually sit down or chat with the principal, and we try and focus on something new that's happening at their building this year that's kind of tied to their building strategic
that's
plan.
Unique and
Yep. And so maybe it's a new academic initiative.
Okay.
Maybe it's a new school-wide implementation of something. So common things are like Avid or a new reading curriculum or a new math structure that we're doing at that building.
Okay.
Sometimes it's on our early release days. What are our students doing to get to know each other better?
Cool.
Or maybe it's like bullying or mental health.
Okay.
And how are they initiating that or using that in their building throughout the year?
Great.
And so we go and we document that for them. Usually takes us about half a day. But again, we're fortunate. We have our videographer on staff. He edits it, puts it all together, makes it look awesome. And then we post that for them. Wonderful. So it goes on our district pages. We tag them, of course, they share it. But what we've noticed is that how we put those together is that people from other schools are tuning in more to watch them.
That's great.
So if you're a parent and your student does not go to that school, generally in the past, we've seen that it's only about a smaller demographic of parents and teachers from that school. And so we've started noticing that when it's the topic ties into the bigger like district goals or strategic plan, and the students are leading it instead of a staff member or a teacher telling the story, the students are the ones being interviewed and telling the story about what it is that we're talking about, that it's getting more engagement. And
that's really cool.
That's helped as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And of course, it's beautiful to have a videographer on staff. But if you don't, it really does need to be said that if you are a one-person office or maybe just a team of 2 or 3, you can do that. You can absolutely map that calendar out. You can figure out where that fits into your schedule and still make that happen for each one of your schools. And it doesn't have to be a crazy heavy lift. How long are those videos?
We try and keep them under 4 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
Which I know. I mean, anyone who's familiar would maybe say that that's long.
Yeah.
Which we understand. We get that. But we usually try and do between 2 and 4 minutes.
That's good. Yeah. So the editing isn't really, that's another beautiful thing is if you can keep it under 4 minutes, and obviously like we can talk about analytics and the data behind that. Really like the magic number is even less than a minute now, but that's almost impossible to tell the story of something unique or a program or service that's at a school in less than 1 minute. That's tricky. 3 minutes. That's kind of a nice waterline. It's a good compromise. But if you're not familiar or very comfortable with doing the editing and video work, definitely lean into resources that are out there. There's a lot of training programs, there's a lot of links. Feel free to hit me up. Like I can send you a lot of links if you're just not comfortable with editing and videography work. We also at Peachjar Extra Credit, there's videos on there. There's videos on there about how to do videos and editing and taking better photos on our social media. So just lean into a lot of the resources that you have because it's huge. We know that when you put text out there on social media, it will get some engagement. When you put a photo of kids out there on social media, maybe with their quote, it'll get a lot more engagement. But when you have a video out there, the engagement on videos, especially shorts, is through the roof. And your reach, like you just mentioned, other schools, other community members are going to be watching that. Voters, you want to go out for a bond initiative or you're asking voters to, tax initiatives, then getting your programs and values and services out there to the broader community that may not even have kids in your district is critical. What a great way to do that. So I guess all this to say, like, if the video thing is scary, it doesn't have to be. And editing a 1 to 2 minute video is something you can absolutely map out, and anybody can do it.
Yeah, and we give each school one a year. So if you're one person shop and you're in a district with 5 schools, or you're in a district with 17, you really help them focus on like what is it that you really want to focus on and highlight. And so I think that helps them too to really think strategically about what makes most sense for them, what they want to highlight for their school.
That's awesome. And then let's just talk a little bit more. Another question I have on social media and videos. I get this question a lot. So how are you handling like vertical versus horizontal, long format videos versus shorts? Are you pulling shorts from longer format videos? Are you making specifically like shorts and stories and reels and longer format videos? Can you talk to me about that just a little bit?
This is something that we are dipping our toes in this year. So thank you for bringing that up. We're trying to do kind of some teasers or shorter clips on these bigger spotlight videos, for example, that we can post on like Instagram Reels. And maybe even on X. There's
formerly Twitter
been a lot of navigating what X entails now and what it does not entail. But in the past, your videos had to be under, I think, 90 seconds to be able to post like organically.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you have to post a link. And we know that posting organically does better. So, we're exploring that kind of like a teaser you might have seen for Peachjar Extra Credit, but being able to shorten those clips or do a reel based on the longer video that we're already there for and we're already doing.
That's huge.
Doing those.
Yeah.
So we're just dipping our toes in that.
Okay, that's cool. Well, yeah, and for anybody out there listening right now, like that's just a really good technique. Like this video we're making right now, we're gonna go back and pull shorts out of it. Maybe Samantha sharing that gold nugget earlier about grabbing the quote from the student and putting it on social media. Like that will be a short that I'm gonna go back and pull from this longer video. And if you're out there and you're filming, for a longer format video, just know that you can go back and break it into the shorter pieces in a vertical format through editing. And sadly, your shorts will do way better than your longer format video. But you're looking for the engagement. You're looking to get the messaging out there. You're looking to get the story out there. And so it fits that goal. But what I always kind of am bitter about is like the longer format videos that I put all that real deep effort in, they might get, several thousand views. And then one of my shorts gets, multiple thousands of views, which took a lot less time to put together.
I know. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple and lean into the shorts, the reels, the story. That stuff is huge right now. And that's where people are digesting a lot of it.
Yeah. I would say one final thing that we've started diving into on social media, and not to toot my own horn, but we did get an honorable mention at Inspire this year for this. But it's called A Day in the Life.
Oh, cool.
And so it's a student vlog. And so our technology department lent us a cell phone, and we've taken everything off of it. It's just got the camera on it. And so we identify a student at a school, and they basically take us through a day in the life at their building.
That's so cool.
And they walk us through everything from if it's a high schooler, they're driving into school, if it's a younger student, they're getting off the bus or they're in the car rider line, all the way through to the end of the day through pickup. Wow. And so one thing that we've seen there is they're really giving us an experience of like everything. Yeah. So we see what math class looks like, but then we also see what lunch looks like. Our most recent one was a 4th grader at our elementary school, and he's in math. Yeah, he's in mathletics. Okay. So that's an extracurricular after school, and they had their first mathletics competition. So halfway through the day, he switches into his mathletics shirt.
Okay.
And he highlights the Chin Panthers mathletics shirt. And then he had, between the principal and his parent, they took the cell phone and were documenting him and his team doing mathletics after school.
That's cool.
On the first day of school, we had a senior. She did it for us. So it was her last first day of school in Park Hill.
Oh, that one's serious. That pulls at the heartstrings.
Yeah. And then for graduation, we had a student from each high school. They did a student vlog for graduation. Wow. It was them getting ready, taking pictures with their cap and gown. Yeah, oh my gosh. At our arena where we do graduation. So we've had I think our youngest student has been in 3rd or 4th grade.
Okay.
We've had a student with special needs do it. We've had seniors in high school do it. And so they really take us through their day. Like, what does it look like in your building? what does class look like, but also like, what does recess look like? What does,
Wow.
you know, maybe a high schooler is doing an internship through our professional studies program. What does that look like?
What a cool way to incorporate student voice, but then also just like what's happening within the walls.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're doing all the work. We drop off the phone.
Seriously.
We pick it.
That's the best part.
Our 2 rules are introduce yourself, tell us what school you're at.
Okay.
And at the end, say thanks for, joining me today. That's it.
Where are they posted then? On all the platforms you're using?
Yeah. Okay. So then, again, our videographer nicely goes through all those clips, kind of puts it together with some music. Our graphic designer makes a nice, cool intro. Again, doesn't have to be that spiffy. We're fortunate we do that. And then we post it on all of our platforms. And the caption is basically, what does a day in the life at Chin Elementary look like? Take a look through the eyes of Miles.
That is so cool.
And that's it.
Another solid gold right there. That one's amazing. And it doesn't have to be polished. So it's a good point, like you just said. And I guess what I'll say about that too is what we found is the more polished the video is, the more it turns out like a commercial, or that you're trying really hard to convince somebody of something. And it doesn't get the kind of engagement that more of a kind of a, just organic style video is going to get. So you don't have to worry about like really making it that beautiful, because it's going to be, I'm sure it's pretty shaky, and they're not always the best, and they don't have formal training on this. Some of the kids though, like some of the I know some of the high school students, they know how to be on camera, which is pretty impressive. And they know how to use a camera very, very well. Yeah. So some of that I'm sure comes out really, really good. But you got a 4th grader running around out there. I'm sure it's just cute as can be.
Oh yeah, and the analytics prove it. Like the comments are, it's so authentic too from the comments. Like, way to go, you did so well.
So cool.
I loved like seeing you in class. That's not something that we would be able to do. Like it would be. It would not be as authentic.
Not the same experience if we had gone out there and followed the student around all day long, which I know districts that have done that, and it is great. It is great, but this is like next level of like, I guess organic is the right word. I'm not sure how to say that. Just, this is a very real experience.
Yeah.
Very cool. Oh, there's some good stuff right there.
Thank you.
Another one. All right, what else? What else do you got?
Okay, let's jump to print.
Okay, let's do jump to print, because I see some really beautiful award-winning magazine here.
Also ends for award-winning magazine. So in Park Hill, we have this magazine. It's called The Connection magazine. It goes out 4 times a year. So we've got fall, winter, spring, and summer. Okay. And it goes to all households in our district, whether you have kids at home or not.
Oh, that's great.
And we've got a couple of private schools. And so even if your kiddos go there, you're getting it.
That
goes to all
is
households.
Good.
So our communications department puts it together.
Okay.
And it's all about Park Hill. So the cover is usually aligned with like what time of year it is. So this was our back to school, first day of school.
That's cute.
Our spring connection was graduation. A big thing that we implemented in Park Hill last year is now AVID. So if you're familiar with that, advancement via individual determination, is now K through 12 here. So that was a big initiative. So that was the cover of one of ours last year.
Great.
So then the inside cover is always like a personal note from our superintendent. And then it's focusing on what's going on in Park Hill. So are we looking to the future and we're planning our next 10-year strategic plan? Are we doing our new comprehensive school improvement plan for the next 5 years? What does that look like? We're really focusing on DEIB, so diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging.
Yes.
We've started a district council. This year we're having them at all schools.
Okay.
So what does that look like? And then how we showcase that story is we always have 1 or 2 staff members and then 1 or 2 students. They write an article for us in there.
Nice.
So, it's kind of like unfiltered from the student and the staff. So maybe it's a student that was on our DEIB council, or these 2 students and this one are on our superintendent's student advisory council.
Cool.
So their experience, we prompt them with some of the questions, but then they completely write it themselves.
And has Dr. Kimbrell been here a while?
He's been in the district for quite some time, but he's just in his second year as our superintendent.
Shout out to Dr. Kimbrell for being so supportive of communications and the efforts that y'all are putting into this. It's huge to have a superintendent that realizes and recognizes the role. I got to meet him real briefly this morning, which was great. So thank you very much. You're amazing for all your support, because I know that you do have a phenomenal communications team here. A couple of things that stood out to me. One, I really love that it goes to every household in the district. That's a big one. I know that we have a lot of districts that do these kind of magazines or newsletters quarterly or 2 or 3 times a year. Some do monthly, and they just blast it out to the parents, which is great. It's a good thing. But going to every household, and I like that you actually have right on the cover, it says that this goes to every household in Park Hill School District. Thank you for your support for our community schools, which is really important because you mentioned it goes to privates, it goes to charter schools. I know some districts, in one of my previous districts, it was really odd, the boundaries. I was surrounded by 2 other school districts, and the way the borders worked, I had some schools in their city, they had some schools in my city. That's a really awkward setup. And so when we would blast out by zip code, that means that some of their families are going to get my stuff. And when they blast out by zip code, some of my families would get their stuff. And this disclaimer is nice because it just tells everybody straight out the gate, look, everyone in our district is going to receive this. I really like that. And what I would do with the PIOs at those other 2 districts and what they would do for me is just, we would call each other and say, hey, I have a marketing collateral piece for TK registration going out. Some of your parents are going to get that next week. Yep. Thank you very much. And then I would do the same back to them. And the 3 of us are very good friends. I love them both dearly. So shout out to Furman and Annie, 2 of you, for always keeping each other in the loop on that. But that's big. And again, it goes back to, like, if you're not thinking about it, you have a lot of voters and decision makers and key players in your community that may not have students. And if you're only sharing this great work with your families, they're not going to get it. There's no way that they're popping into your district office and walking out with this. I mean, actually bringing it to their doorstep is huge. And then just looking through here, you've got some really great stats. You had mentioned some of the student voice that's in here, some of the interviews. You've got a staff interview. I also love, you had in the back here, hiring initiatives that you're doing, like, hey, we're hiring, we're doing a stipend, like, come on, we need some people, come work for us. This is really great. And then, of course, at the end, it looks like you have a place for your community to come in here and help invest in this magazine to make it so some of their dollars are going into helping you get this made, printed, and distributed, right?
Yes. Yeah, we do have a robust advertising program that I actually help oversee. So that's another big part of my job. And
that's awesome.
Maybe for a future podcast.
This
but
is great.
The connection is by far our most popular piece that
cool.
advertisers want to be a part of. And I think for good reason, to your point. And just last week, we actually had our retiree coffee. So we do that twice a year. In Park Hill, we invite all retirees back for coffee, and the superintendent talks through, like, what's going on.
How fun is that? What a great way to keep that community
engaged. Yeah, it's great. They're great. Some of the best. And retirees, they don't hold back.
Nope.
And if they still live here, they get the connection.
That's so cool.
So they stay in the loop and they know what's going on. They might have grandkids or students who still go here that are family friends, but obviously their kids are grown and they're not in the district anymore.
But what a phenomenal brand ambassador. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
This is great. All right. Anything else you want to share with Student Voice? I mean, already this is like, I already know I'm going to watch this video a couple of times.
I think those are probably some of the top ways that we have been able to productively incorporate student voice. And it has just helped us tremendously, not only with engagement and like stuff to post, but I think of the Student Advisory Council for our superintendent. They are giving us the feedback that we need, that we are maybe not hearing at conferences. Yeah. Or if we're just walking over there, to school and walking around for the day, they're giving us the feedback that we need for the future of our district. Yeah. And what that's going to look like. So part of our next 10-year plan is that we are expanding both of our high schools. Okay. And the students that are in this Superintendent Advisory Council are 6th through 12th graders. And so last spring, the architecture firm that we're working with actually came in and the kids got to offer their opinion and be a part of planning what their high schools are going to look like.
How fun is that?
So the 2 middle schools, that feed into both respective high schools, they kind of branched out into 2 different groups, and they got to share with our architects exactly what they like, what they don't like.
That's neat.
What their dreams are, what they hope. And we're listening to that. I mean, we've moved on now to the phase where we are planning out what that looks like. And like those students had a voice and a huge say in what that looks like. Talk
about incorporating student voice, like literally impacting what school looks like. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Thank you so much for letting us talk about the cool things we're doing.
So rad. This is so rad. I guess the only question I have last is, how do you, because I imagine you are, but how do you track analytics on these things? Are you tracking like social media every month? Are you tracking each week? Do you track by post? Do you have any analytics that come back on the connection or any of these kind of, how do you track that?
Yeah, so we do Google Analytics every month for all of our social. And then, tracking as far as the connection is a little harder. Snail mail is a little harder. But we will put in annual surveys, like where are you getting your news?
There you go.
And the connection is one of those options that you can check.
Okay.
We're also asking people at different focus groups and like community meetings that we're having, hey, have you seen the latest connection? We're also, as soon as we know that they're hitting mailboxes, we will post that on social too.
Oh, good. Yeah.
We'll post a digital copy and say, hey, be looking in your mailboxes for the latest connection coming out.
Sweet.
So we'll track, how many people are liking with that or commenting and engaging with that. And then, so we also have an e-newsletter. So we have an e-newsletter that we send to all families.
Okay.
That is like you can opt in or opt out of that. So it is mostly families. Again, like retirees are added to that list. And then we have the Insider, which is an e-newsletter for all of our staff.
Oh, good.
So we also can track open rates.
Yeah.
And, those that bounce from those each month. So at the first Monday of every month, we look at the month prior.
That's cool.
And track those.
That's good. If you're not tracking the data, I imagine most everyone is, but it's huge. The analytics and the data, absolutely paramount. Track that, document it, because that's how you go back. And if you are a department of one, that's how you eventually go back to a superintendent or your school board and say, hey, I'm doing this and we're seeing these results. I'd love to be doing this if I could just have maybe one more person, right? Maybe a videographer or a communications specialist or somebody that's going to come in and help you even go bigger. And if you have the data and the analytics behind the work you're already doing, it makes that conversation so much easier. Plus, it just makes it's just better for you because you know where you need to focus your efforts. If you find one is kind of falling flat or the survey data is coming back that people just aren't engaging with it in that way, great, stop that. Put your efforts into something else that's getting more results. So make sure you're tracking the data and the analytics. I knew just asking you, you were going to have an answer to that. So that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Anything we haven't talked about that you want to? It's around student voice. And there doesn't have to be. You actually shared quite a bit.
I appreciate it. I think probably the biggest takeaway from the analytics, to probably a point that we've kind of already said multiple times this morning, is that just keep it simple. And sometimes the best engagement that we've seen is light. There's some levity. It always ties back to our district. Yeah. But it doesn't always have to be so heavily focused on academics or the more strategic type focused part of our district. Just focusing on one of our top posts from earlier this year was one of our principals at our high schools has been here for, I'm going to say 100 years, which is not accurate, but he has been here forever. And before their first home football game, they have their big pep rally. He was in the hallway with all of the marching band singing. He was singing Sweet Caroline.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And we were there. We got invited to the pep rally.
It's cool.
We filmed it on cell phone and just, posted something like, "It's a great Friday when Dr. Kinchlow is singing in the hallways."
You got engagement.
And it was like our top post,
exactly.
Of that entire month. And so I just think food for thought, right? Like, again, if you're a department of 1 or 7, no matter how big or small your district is, like, just post stuff.
Yes.
Just share stuff.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be so planned and thought out. There's something to say about just authentically posting what you see on the day-to-day.
So true. I love that. That's good advice. And it doesn't have to be polished. It can be a cell phone. The lighting doesn't have to be great.
Nope.
Just get out there and do that. That's amazing. Well, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to sit and talk with me about this. I was really excited when you and I were talking and kind of brainstorming. I'm like, oh, what is it we could do together? And you mentioned student voice, and no one has brought that up yet at all in all the videos that we've done. I think we've got like 35 or 36 of these so far. So if you're not tuning in yet, Peachjar Extra Credit, we've got we've only got like 4 or 5 videos out there right now, but we've got a ton in the hopper coming your way. Everything from like legal stuff, PRAs and FOIA requests and media releases and to how to fly drones and what laws you need to go through there with the FAA, like you name it, we got videos on it. And it's all really goes back to just elevate the work that we're all doing out here in the communications role for school districts across the country and trying to make it so that you have access to some professional development that's accessible straight from the people that are out in the field doing the amazing work. So I can't thank you enough, Samantha, for taking the time to hang out with me this morning. This has been amazing.
Awesome. High five to that.
High five. If you like this, be sure to like, share, comment, follow for more. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to either one of us. Absolutely know that either one of us would take your phone calls. Get in the comments, ask questions there. We'll jump in, answer anything that you might have. But yeah, never hesitate to reach out. I know that if you wanted to see this, I'm sure Samantha would send this to you, right? So I just spoke on your behalf there, but I know you would. So
happy to share.
Happy to share, right?
Yeah.
Award-winning publication. So yeah, anyway, happy to give you anything out there that might help for sure. So there are a lot of great strategies that were just shared this morning. Be sure to pick one and just start there. Thank you again so much.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll see you. That's it for now.